Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about next generation of USB. So let's dive right into it. Now, what exactly is the problem with USB? Well, reality is it's not really universal, meaning it has no, even though the name has universal serial bus, it's not universal as in to customer, as in to people who are using it. It's not universal. And it has way too many substandard. For example, there is USB 1.0. Okay, awesome. It was a good starting point. Then we went to USB 2.0. It became world dominant. And then somebody started smoking weed. They had USB 3.0. Now, like, everything is okay. Here's the deal. Somebody somehow thought that a product that has been released to the market, meaning this product has been packaged, shipped, customer have it, customer have opened it, customer are using it. Now you're thinking about rechanging it, meaning the logo had to be redesigned, naming convention has to be rechanged, which cannot be changed. So inherently they did this. The USB 3.0 became USB 3.1 Gen 1. Now again, you are a human, you can make mistakes, but like, okay, people understand that, like, they were high, they were a bit too high, so high as a kite. And then they did it again. They renamed it to USB 3.2 Gen 1. Dude, you are not high as a kite, you are high as a freaking satellite. Who the heck came up with this idea is that we have made this product, we have launched this product, people are using this product, we cannot change the name because, well, you will have literally a box, in a shop that has USB 3.0, a box in the shop that has USB 3.1 Gen 1, another that is USB 3.2 Gen 1. What the hell? Is like, what, like, this happened, this is a real thing, this happened. And rather they could have simply said USB 3.0 5 Gbps, USB 3.0 10 Gbps, easy, simple. USB 3.2 Gen 2 X2. It's like, why? Just say USB 3 20 Gbps. Or even better, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, and current system would be 6.0. It's like, they did not had any need to do this sort of stuff. This was like really stupid, and it created way too many confusion. People don't know which pen drive to buy, people don't know which NVMe SSDs to utilize in their external system, because if you have an external NVMe SSD on a USB 3.0 or 3.2 Gen 1, it's not really useful. You can use a SATA M.2, but if you have something, let's say USB 3.2 Gen 2 X2, you can actually utilize it. So that's the problem. It's like really frustrating, and it also has way too many jacks, as in, like, most people know standard A, most people know USB-C, and you have micro B, which also has two standards, USB 2.0, USB 3.0, and you also have for printers, for some reason they are stuck with this type B. So you get the point. Like, everybody has way too many software standards and many hardware plug standards. And even in USB 4, which is working on right now, it also has two standards, USB 20 Gbps or 40 Gbps. Why? And not to mention, not all players use it. For example, Apple, which is a very huge manufacturer of portable electronics, and they are like, lol. So that is a very serious, harmful experience for consumer. So this is a serious problem. So USB 4 is trying to sort it out. Now, how they are trying to sort it out is basically Intel came to the rescue, and Intel is like, okay, we have been seeing what you have working with, in your USB stuff, you are not fast enough. Just take our Thunderbolt 3, basically Control C, Control V, Thunderbolt 3, everything, standard signaling, protocols, everything, take it and go. Now, however, be very mindful, even though the protocol has been shared, the IP has not been shared, meaning the intellectual property claim you cannot do. Meaning, if you use USB 4, you cannot say my device is Thunderbolt device. You can say it is compatible with Thunderbolt 3, but you cannot say it is Thunderbolt. For that, if you want to claim USB, basically it is USB 4 and Thunderbolt 3, you have to pay money to Intel, and that's why Thunderbolt adoption is not universal. Even though a lot of media content creators utilize this, it's not universal, because while Apple is a big thing, it's not everywhere, basically. So for that reason, Intel realized it's much better for them for that IP to grow if people actually start to use that. Once the people start to use that, they will sell Thunderbolt 4 for the next generation devices. Now be very mindful, Thunderbolt 3 and Thunderbolt 4 are inherently same. Now you're like, why the heck? Let's say, for example, Apple, why would Apple pay Intel for Thunderbolt 4? Basically, Thunderbolt 4 is like, there was a lot of issue with Thunderbolt 3. Basically tightness, tolerance wise, it was very sloppy, meaning you could literally buy a external media device where it's like, you're dumping your video files and copying and everything, that in real life it's not giving you the performance. It's like barely giving you 20 Gbps. You're like, why the hell? Like, 20 Gbps is so slow that is like literally USB 3.2 Gen 2 X2. So it's like, what's the point? It's like they may be just taking a USB controller chip and renaming it to Thunderbolt. So this time Intel is like, no more trolling around. So if you now say Thunderbolt 4, it must meet these criteria. The criteria are much tighter. Basically, you can't cheat your way. You can't put that stamp unless you meet the criteria. Criteria is much harder at this point in time. But top speed is exactly the same, 40 Gbps. And what USB Association is doing is basically they are taking the same Control C, Control V, but they are introducing dynamic bandwidth sharing. Meaning the idea is people have realized that if you are daisy chaining it, not every equipment requires the exact same amount of basically bandwidth. So you will have a scenario where, let's say, you daisy chained a monitor, then you daisy chained a network attached storage. Network attached storage may require a lot more compared to a display. So like, okay, fatter pipe goes there and the slimmer pipe goes to your display. So that's the whole idea. The dynamic bandwidth management is like, it will know, study, scan, analyze, and then it will divide it. Because the older system was very simple. It's like you daisy chain is like divide by half. Basically 2 devices divide by 2, 3 devices divide by 3. That was good because you had such a fat pipe, but even people realize that once you start to daisy chain enough equipment, it will simply not work. So dynamic bandwidth sharing was very thoroughly analyzed, and power delivery standard is now bumped up to 100 watts from everything. Basically, if your laptop claims proper USB 4 certification, it must have 100 watt of power delivery input at least. Meaning, if you have a charger that is power delivery and capable of giving 100 watts, this puppy should do proper handshake. So if you have any laptop that requires, let's say, around 90 or even 80 to 90 watts, which are very lot of thin and light notebooks and ultrabooks, they should directly use this puppy. They should not have a charger port. So that's the whole idea. And USB-C only be used, meaning no longer type A, type B. USB-C, done, take it, go home, don't think about it. And much basically the display output, basically all the data that is being displayed must have its own tunneling issue. Now be mindful, these all things have been sorted out by Thunderbolt Association. They are just carrying it forward. These are another issue is that they are classified as extra features, so not everything that has USB 4 may have this. I do not know how much they weed the smoke. It's like, it's beyond me. And on top of that, the most frustrating, because of the cost of trying to achieve 40 Gbps is too goddamn high, there is two subcategories. That two subcategory is single 20 Gbps and dual lane 40 Gbps. Now single lane, most likely if you buy a motherboard and it has that, unless it's a very high end motherboard, only 1 or 2 ports would be, let's say, 40 Gbps port. Most ports would be 20 Gbps port, which is more or less same as a last gen USB. But 40 Gbps is very high. And to give you a context of that, how fast is 40 Gbps? Well, assume it this way, it can go up to 3.5 Gbps. That is so fast that you can buy a very high-end NVMe PCI 3.0 or even PCI 4.0 and you can saturate this puppy. So this is very, very fast. Fundamentally speaking, at this point in time, if you have, let's say, USB 4.0, 4.4 or Thunderbolt 3, you should not reach a point where it's like, oh, something is bottlenecking it. Like, there is no consumer scenario where you should bottleneck. Of course, server enterprise, like, bro, we work at 100 Gbps. Removing that, barring that, most people should never reach any bottleneck, even at 20 Gbps. But at 40, like, no, just no. That 40 Gbps is so goddamn high that you can literally take a Blackmagic 12K camera, directly take the footage and directly edit it on an external drive, just utilizing the USB 4 link without ever worrying about it. So that is very fast, very fat pipe. Now, all the talks is basically old talk about USB 4. The new talk is the European Union law that has been recently picking up steam. Now, the idea is European Union got trolled by Apple. Basically, Apple simply said F you. Now, European Union realized that in the early 2008 and 2009, there was way too many chargers. Now, I'm old enough that I was utilizing phones back then. Basically, Samsung had a fat cable charger. Nokia also had that. Sony Ericsson also had that, and Nokia had like weird things where they had that fat cable for their N series systems, and they had slim pin ones, and they had pin one also. They had 2 pins. One was fat pin, another was small pin. It's like, what the hell? There was like at least 30 active systems. That was too much. European Union was like, bro, we can't keep cleaning up your charger mess. Please sort this out. So a memorandum of understanding was reached that every Tom, Dick and Harry will utilize USB 2.0 utilizing micro B cable. However, even though Apple signed it, Apple simply said F you, because there was a loophole in that system that said if you have a basically adapter for it, because some devices could be way too small, basically, let's say Bluetooth earpiece and things of that nature. If you have something like that, you should be able to give an adapter for it to bypass that requirement. Apple was like, what if we simply make lightning port and don't give you microwave? And if somebody asks, we have adapter. So that's how Apple simply flat out middle finger to European Union. And this time European Union is like, bro, we got this. You're gonna troll us again. So no, this time it's an absolute law, meaning you have to implement it. And to give you a context of that, like what kind of power European Union has, if you have ever noticed any DSLR, mirrorless, especially unless it's very recent, you would have noticed most of them have video recording limits of 30 minutes. Why? European Union. Because European Union have a law that if it records more than 30 minutes, it's a video camera, the charging tax bracket goes up. So companies like Panasonic GH5, they had to pay much higher tax to achieve that unlimited recording time. However, that law has been removed, thankfully. Thankfully, that was stupid law, but it was there just to give you a context of what kind of power they have. So if they implement something, no corporation in this planet is big enough where they're like, okay, for Europe we'll have a different department, or we're gonna pull out from Europe. No company is that big, because Europe is really huge as a market. No country in Europe is very big, because like Germany, France, things of that nature, they are not very big in terms of population. That's like one state in India kind of population wise. However, in terms of like as a collective, European Union wise, as a collective money pool, they're huge. So if there's whatever they say, it goes. So fundamentally, this common charger standard will become universal, basically planet wide. And you may be like, okay, this will hurt Apple, but it will be very awesome for Android. Yes and no. Android user, GG. Android manufacturers, ooh, that's gonna hurt. Because think of it this way, while Apple is 100% bad, Android is 50% bad in this regard, because Android has this. Basically, they have Qualcomm Quick Charge 1.0, Quick Charge 2.0, Quick Charge 3.0, Quick Charge 4.0, Apple Fast Charging, Huawei Supercharger, Huawei Supercharge 2.0, and Motorola Turbo Power, Oppo VOOC, Oppo Super VOOC, Oppo basically OnePlus Dash Charger, OnePlus Warp Charger, MediaTek Power Express 4.0, Power Express 3.0, Power Express 2. There is 10, 20 more. So you get that point. It's like Android found the same kind of loophole. The loophole was that it must support USB standard for charging, and they did that. Every Android phone can accept 5 volt 2 amps, basically 10 watt charging without any issue. And if there is any hint, like fail in handshake, it will default to 1 amp connection. So basically your phone will be charged on any charger. That's the whole point. That's the amazing aspect of it. Basically every charger will work with every Android phone. That was requirement from that memorandum. They meet it, but fast charger was excluded. So every company started to create their own standards, own hoo-ha, own basically trying to exploit more money out of you. So this time Android has to let go of that. Now be mindful, it will be less painful for some corporations, simply because Samsung and Motorola, if I'm not mistaken, even 1 or 2 variants of Oppo also does this. It's like while they do claim fast charging, they are still utilizing backbone wise power delivery, USB power delivery. Now USB power delivery is designed in such a way that it can scale up to more than 100 watts of power. Now that's more than enough power for any mobile phone, even in the future. So European Union is like, no trolling around. No, it's like, you have to have a VOOC charger. Nobody has to be like, you have to have a warp charger. No, you dash. No, just power delivery. You can say, like, the flat out, every mobile manufacturer can say, hey, I need 30 watt, I need 50 watt. But other than that, they cannot say anything. It's like, how do I provide you 50 watt? That's up to me. Like which charger I buy. I can buy charger from MI, I can buy charger from Samsung, or heck, I can reuse my Oppo charger or whatever have you. But all you can ask for is this: please give me this much power. You cannot do anything more. You cannot be like, hey, I will only fast charge it if you have Qualcomm charge for 4.0. I will only fast charge if you have a supercharger 2.0. No, it's like, if you give me this much watt, I will do fast charging. And if you have lower standard, basically let's say your phone was very high end, it can supercharge at 60 watts, and you have 30 watt charger, it should not go default to that old system where it's like, no, now I'm only charging at 10 watts. No, charge properly at 30. So that is requirement now. Now be mindful, power delivery was designed with that in mind, but companies were like, what if he started to milk more money? They're like, 50% evil kind of thing. So they have to let go of proprietary fast charger. And this time basically this European Union has learned a lot. So they are like, cable also has to be standardized, meaning cable from Samsung should work with Oppo one should work with OnePlus should work with Motorola. No more trolling around, which if you are familiar with OnePlus, they had an issue because they were using their custom cable system and they had a resistance issue or something like that, and it was like, the handshake was failing way too often. So no more like that. It's like, dude, it is a USB, it is using USB power delivery. You can ask for more or less, or you could have if you exceed, let's say, power delivery standard, for example, some of the ludicrously high watt power system where you can exceed 100 watts or 200 watts, then you will be like, okay, I can utilize my own stuff. Until that ceiling, you have to use normal power delivery, no more hoo-ha jingalala. So that's awesome. and this will take some time to implement. The idea is cable, charger and port must become universal, and it will take around 2024 to implement if there is no blocking it, so to say. Now, all that being saying, every Tom, Dick and Harry is focusing their attention on Apple, and for a good reason, simply because Apple hates it. Apple hates it so much that they literally has a chance they will actually hire lawyers and try to fight it off, because it is very, very important for us. Apple, think of it this way: many times you see a company and you hear details like Apple makes an iPhone for $200 and sells it for $1,000. You may think like, that's GG, that's like 8x profit. Not really. Because while you do know the cost of the hardware, you can ascertain it from external data points or companies that manufacture it for them, Apple, like subcontractors. If you try to ascertain how much money you are spending on basically making the app ecosystem, that's a boatload of money. At bare minimum, people are expecting that is like $200 to $300 per mobile phone. That's a lot of money. They are just like, poof. Okay, you had hardware, you had software, then you're like, done? No. You still have to spend money on R&D, meaning what will come next. That also takes boatload of money. Basically, you are at this point truckload of money, and then you also have to worry about marketing and all. So realistically speaking, people are expecting around 20 to 30% profit. Now, this is good. 20 to 30% is good. But what if you can do better? Enter the dongle era. Now, dongles are super duper hyper cheap to make, meaning the material cost is negligible, meaning the packaging, the plastic that goes around it, that and shipping cost is more or less the same of the material cost. So fundamentally what they are doing is like, just ship them all. Now, this puppy also consumes money. From a company point of view, they will still be consuming millions of dollars, but here's the deal: for every $1 million they will spend, they will get almost $1 billion out. The multiplication factor on this puppy is much higher than iPhone. Yes, this will not make them like $1 trillion company, but from stock point of view, this is GG, simply because it's like, I spent a little bit and I got boatload. This is so good that in case of, let's say, you have a pandemic or things of that nature, this will literally keep their stock line going up, because at that time people will still buy dogs, because it does not hurt that much. Like the $20 does not hurt that much, $100 dongle does not hurt that much as $500 mobile phone would. So it makes boatload of money. It's a high margin product, so Apple wants to do this. I never truly understood. It's like, why the heck Apple is being so stubborn. They are giving a USB-C in iOS device when it comes to tablet, but then I realized the Pro tablets that they are doing it with, they are not selling like billions of copies. They are selling billions of iPhone though. So fundamentally, that is very problematic. And then we have another issue: less control over the ecosystem. For example, you can buy a USB-C dongle that works with let's say Dell, HP, Lenovo, or any Tom, Dick and Harry other company. But the moment you will connect it to Apple, it's like Apple is like, how about no? Because even though it is USB-C, they're like, no, we are using Thunderbolt and blah 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 and custom proprietary blah blah blah. It will not work. Even though it is USB, even though it should be compatible, it's like lol. And you have to buy dongles, and they make money. But if USB actually starts to use Thunderbolt algorithms, at that point it's like, how the heck you gonna lock it up? And you can utilize a Thunderbolt 4, but that's more expensive. So fundamentally speaking, that loss of control over the ecosystem, where you can just roll out the basically hardware made by every other manufacturer, that's like. And then we come to another most painful aspect: is the moment they lose basically Lightning port, they lose Lightning IP. The Lightning port has an IP. That IP allows for this puppy, basically made for iPhone, iPad, iPod. So basically companies like Samsung, Oki, things of that nature, they generally have to pay Apple boatload of money to get this stamp. Again, I'm talking legal ones, and this is boatload of money. So all these things, they have a primary business model of making iPhones. Now these things are what actually fills up their banks. So fundamentally speaking, Apple hates this. They rather remove port from their phones than ever allow USB-C to happen. So it would be very interesting to see what happens. And be mindful, European Union, while they are trying to do good thing, and most of the time I have noticed that they actually want to do good things, they are a bit too slow. And Apple may use that time either A, to fight a lawsuit, or just say, you know what, let's just remove the port. Let's just go YOLO on it. Because losing this sort of income bracket is not acceptable. Then what we can hope in the future, let's say things go according to plan, well, much less e-waste, because again, this is a very common sight, especially in Indian homes, where you can have one Hawaii phone, one Samsung phone, one OnePlus phone. You will have, like, dude, everybody has different chargers. Heck, I have Samsung chargers that will not supercharge my fast charge my Lenovo phone, and my Lenovo charger, that is, both are fast charge compatible, but they cannot do with each other because everybody is like lol. So that is a very serious e-waste issue, like on a global scale kind of e-waste issue. So that will be sorted. That's awesome. Better customer experience, because that is why I really like this time. It's like European is like, no, port cable and charger, all three has to follow the standard. They cannot be like, oh no, you have to use special cable. No, I like that. So this will simply mean if you have a phone, let's say your brother gifted you a very high-end phone, and that's why European Union themselves are trying to remove the basically charger from the box. The idea is we are overproducing charger compared to mobile phones. We don't need to. You have a charger, it's supposed to work. A phone can die out, but the charger can easily serve you 5-6 years easily without any issue. And I know for a fact that if one or two of you will have chargers that are like, although 7 or 8 years old, it still works. So fundamentally they're like, no, we have chargers that can outlast a mobile phone. Why not make charger actually universal and long lasting? And you can have a scenario like, if you bought the latest and greatest, you will have 60-watt charging, but let's say rather than 10-watt charging, you have 30-watt. You're like, that's good enough. You're like, okay, good enough, enjoy, have fun. So that is awesome, better customer experience and truly universal. That USB, you will become universal, and I would be finally happy with that. Less confusing, which I do have to admit that USB really sucks on that. They really should not be high as satellites for that. They really have, like, they are changing something, just give the goddamn different name. But that being said, we are truly moving towards one standard to rule them all, and I am really happy with that, because I can easily see a future where you just have USB-C cables and you don't think about anything else. It's like, even for TV, it's like, just have USB-C, don't think about it, done, go home, sweet dreams. So that's the hope, at least. So this was my presentation on basically next generation of USB. Hopefully, in that case, if you have liked it, learned from it, in that case, please, I will urge you to please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.